So anyway, without further ado, Jaylin Thorne's going to give us the history of our libraries and a little more.
A little more.
Okay, all right.
How's everyone doing this afternoon? Nice. So, as Ron said, my name's Jaylin Thorne. I'm a third-year student here at Westchester University, and I'm actually majoring in sports medicine and athletic training. So you might be wondering, why is Jaylin doing this presentation? And I couldn't tell you, but I do. I do love history. But before we get into our presentation, I actually have some goodies that I want to hand out. So I'll start handing some stuff out. And you might be wondering, what's this mean? But hopefully you guys get the gist once you read. And we're going to do a small activity.
Are we going to sing?
I don't know. All right. So, me and Ron spoke a little bit about this beforehand, and I'm sure we all know this song right here. Again, no? We don't know this? All right, so basically for the ones that do know it, because I know some of you do, just scared to say you do, it's a little corny, but we'll sing it together, or we'll try our best to, at least, and hopefully it sounds good. I mean, and break the ice a little bit less. So.
Are we doing it to the normal Will Shine?
Yeah. You guys know what that is, right? That song too, right? No.
That's the old alma mater.
Leave us up.
All right, let's do it. Ready?
No idea.
1, 2, 3. Library now, farewell. Library well. Library now, farewell. Now fare thee well. Library now, farewell. Now fare thee well. 1925, very much alive. Farewell. Memory will recall. Now fare thee well. Seas Willard Hall. Now fare thee well. Research receptions all. Now fare thee well. with a love most fond. Break we now the bond. Farewell. We'll stop there. We can. Wait. Make sure Bobby gets one as well. We'll sing the second half later. We'll end our presentation with the second half. But thanks for singing that. You guys did very well, even though it wasn't in sync like I imagined it to be. But again, my name is Jaylin Thorne. I'm a third-year student here at Westchester, and I'm starting my presentation now. So let's start with the backstory, right? Backstory of the library. We all know that this school was established in 1871. But before 1871, there's 3 different historical places that made a big impact on what we know today as our library. Number 1, we have Westchester Academy. In 1812, Westchester Academy. In 1826, we have Chester County Cabinet of Natural Science. And in 1827, we have Chester County Athenaeum, right? That's a hard word. My major is sports med, guys. But these 3 places, the holdings of these 3 places joined together with the creation of Westchester State Normal School. Now, when all these places closed, the funding for the library came from these schools as well. So that included the material included books, museum collections, and herbaria. A lot of stuff that may still be here actually. So if you could do your research, you may find some historic stuff that dates back to the 1800s. But the most important thing is Chester County Cabinet of Natural Science. About 800 books from them was the core foundation of the library. I'll get into it a little bit later, but Chester County, they had their own room in the library originally where those 800 books were stored. So that plays a big role in, the start of the library. So now we can start with the origin story, right? There's always an origin to something, and ours just happened to be starting with the Moore Society. The role of the Moore Society. So for those that don't know, the Moore Society was one of the first student organizations established here at West Chester University, back then State Normal School. It was established in 1871 as a literacy society, or a literary society, excuse me. And then in 1875, they held the first books to the library. So what's significant about them is that those books that they held were separate from the Chester County books that I spoke about. To be a part of this society, you had to subscribe to them. So I'm not sure how much it was. I do wonder how much it was, but it's the 1800s. I'm sure it was maybe 5 cents or something like that, right? So they held the first books, and they were in their own separate room, and you could only use those books if you had the subscription to use them. So they technically were part of the collection as a whole, but if you were a general student, you didn't have access to those books. So yeah, member status, more access to books, goes hand in hand. They were actually also in the same library, just at like the end corner of the library. So it was kind of like going to like, yeah, it was like special collections. And then you go in the library and then you see the books and be like, man, I wish I could read those books. And be like, I can't because the subscription. So.
But do you know how common the subscriptions were amongst the students?
Yeah, so the Moore Society actually was like really big back then, the literary. Later on, it's not mentioned in my presentation, but I believe in 1889, the Aryan Society was established to kind of be competition to the Moore Society. And the two societies were, I believe, the only two student organizations at that time, pre-1900s. So Aryan also had books that were subscription-based, but that was long after. So Moore Society played a big role. And here we have a pamphlet of an event that they held. Looks like Saturday evening, February 6, 1875. And they just held like subscription-based events. Like if you were part of the society, they have like, I think it was, they had Mrs. Strickland, who was a staff member at the school. She played music. It looks like a solo of Beware. Maybe we'll sing that later, or something. So they just had like access to popular people back then, I guess you could say. Next up, we have the library expansion within the old main hall. So if you weren't aware, this main hall was not always there. There was an old main hall that was demolished in the 1980s. And back then, 1888, a library and a reading room was built in Old Main Hall. And that was due to like the collection getting bigger over 10 years or so. The collection just got pretty big from the Moore Society books and then the incoming Aryan Society books. so they needed more room. Also, a chapel and a dining room was added in the main hall. If you weren't aware, main hall was pretty much the grounds of everything back then. So, dining hall, they had a chapel room. There was a dorm hall in there, the library and the reading room. So, that was big because that was the first moment that the school recognized books being in its own place within the school. So that's very important. And this is Old Main Hall, the reading room. In fact, I think it looks pretty cool, pretty old, if you couldn't tell. Yeah. Maybe if you add some color, it'll look like today or something like that. But no, this is the reading room. Very simple. I wonder how many people would use this room, because Old Main Hall back then, like the dorm situation, there was a lot of people living in the dorms. So there's no one in these photos. I haven't seen a photo of people in this reading room. So I don't know if it was that popular, but that's a very interesting moment in history. Also, very significant, the early pioneers of the library. So first, we have in 1878, Westchester State Normal School. They established a library association. So before the librarian idea was a thing here, we had a library association. Now, these were outliers from the school. They weren't physically here, from what I've read. They were more so like, think of the Board of Trustees, right, for the library. So they collected dues and fines and spent them on various library projects, such as binding books. So again, the library wasn't that big, so you didn't really need much authority, I guess you could say, in that sense. But then, almost 10 years later, a pretty significant person, Eugene C. Lewis, begins the first catalog card. I'm sure all the staff members here know what a catalog card is and how important that is. But from my research, Eugene C. Lewis was the first librarian, not professional librarian, which I'll talk about soon. So I'm not sure if Eugene was a student as a librarian, or if he was just a person that they hired and said, hey, could you manage the books? But he came up with that idea to catalog cards. So very significant. And then 1896, Alice Cochran becomes the first professional librarian. Now, Alice Cochran, she was here for over 20 years during that time, and she's actually in that photo. She's the only woman in that photo. Let's see if I can bring up a laser pointer right here. That woman right there. First professional librarian. And also, when she became librarian, she started the student librarian system, I guess you could say. So she worked with 2 student librarians. I can't recall their names, but she worked with 2 assistants, which was obviously big. That's why I'm here, right? So, yeah. So at this point, the early foundation of Westchester State Normal School's library, the collection had grown from the 800 books that we talked about, plus more society's books, plus Aryan Society's books, to 4,000 more books. So library's starting to get big. They're starting to do some things, right? Also during this period, Mrs. Evans Rogers, she donates $1,000, which back then is $37,000. So that was a lot. She donates that to a collection called the Evans Rogers Collection, and that contributed to more books. So that played a pretty big role, early pioneers. Finally, we've got an official library. I'm sure we all know what this library is. It's old library. We consider it the old library now. Still here, if you weren't aware. It was built in 1902. Due to the size of the collections expanding, someone figured that it'd be a great idea to build a library, and this library wasn't cheap. Back then, they spent $60,000 to build this library, which today would equate to $2.3 million. So it's a lot of history in that building. It was a 2-story fireproof building, which I think is interesting. They thought of making it fireproof, with 2 reading rooms, stack rooms, and an art gallery, a museum, and a room for the library of the Chester County Historical Society. So they're still keeping those books safe because they were the foundation, so I understand it. There was also a basement where the unpacking room was, and a book elevator. Also, a cataloging room was in the basement as well. And then they had other rooms in the basement which were available for future use of periodicals. In 1903, Mrs. Rogers donates the books, the money for books, and then in 1904, the library was open for student use. So it took them 2 years to build that, which is very interesting to me. 2 years, that's pretty fast considering back then. Also, the library back then was open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on Sundays and in the afternoons. So only 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It wasn't an all-nighter. I know some of you guys pull some pretty long shifts. But yeah, we finally got a library. So there's another photo of the library back then. It looks pretty much the same. Not much has changed, but there is also, it's not in this photo, but on the side there's an entryway, like an entry door on the side of this building. That's not there anymore, obviously, but it's a pretty cool thing. Now we have the 1920s to the 1960s, which is, I consider, the expansion era. The expansion era would include, in 1927, 2 new libraries were added. The Children's Library, which was in the old library then, so they made a specific room built for children's books, and children had access to that room. So it was a separate conference room, and it was established to serve students studying children's literature. And Phillips Memorial Building was built in 1927, which was pretty impactful because also at that time, George Morris Phillips' autograph library was donated by his son, William File Phillips, and he donated 3,000 books. So they were housed there 1927, and during this period, I call it the expansion era because a lot of stuff moved around. Like, as time goes on, the collections get a lot bigger, and I guess we start to realize that this is not enough space. So let's just spend more money and build a big Gothic building like this, right? So that was built there. And also, this building, the Phillips Memorial Building, was it was actually built. It was built in fall of 1927 during like the fall semester as well. So that's interesting. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did a lot of cool things back then. Fall 1927. Let's get. So here's the children's library in the old library, the conference room. There's a lot of kids there reading. I don't see a lot of students there.
They're just young.
Yeah, maybe they were just young.
There's also the lab school, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, is that a chandelier?
That's a Christmas tree.
Oh wow, that is a Christmas tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's when kids used to read. That- we don't see that too much now. But next we have the autograph library was built then. That was George Phillips' office originally, until he died in 1920, and then they built it into a library. So if you ever been in that room, it's got some history to it. Here we go. And then now we have in 1929, the demonstration school library is built. There were no pictures of this library, but from research that I did, I do know it was on the first floor. It wasn't a big library, but it was a library made to push students towards building up. It was a library made to influence students to go to the library, pretty much. Demonstration school then was a school for teachers or people wanting to teach, and that goes hand in hand with the impact of the library club, who the whole purpose was they were an organization built to familiarize students with library work and doing actual work connected with the duties of a paid librarian. That sounds like a student librarian, if you ask me. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm glad that exists, right? So if any of you know who Helen Russell is, she was the advisor for the library club. Maybe we can tell her thank you. But that's what we have from the demonstration school library. Oh, and that photo is all the students back then in 1992 that wanted to teach, potentially. So it's a lot. Now we're changing things up. Pretty big time, because the old library was remodeled at this time. From research that I did, it actually started in 1938 and went through 1942, the remodeling process. So this photo is from 1938, and they're expanding the library program. Again, more books, more material. So the library undergoes the expansion program, which includes moving books to resuscitation hall and the basement of Memorial Phillips during this renovation. The renovation included building new floors in the stack area and installing modern stacks. The basement was converted to a large periodical room, and the second floor was reconstructed and redesigned to house a juvenile room. A reserve room was also added during this time. And yeah, it's a lot of scaffolding there. I wonder, like, it was a long period. It was 4 years that they took to remodel this. So I wonder if they had a plan drawn out, if it failed. I've always wondered that. I found this out and I was like, well, why did it take so long just to move some things around, pretty much? But it needed to be done.
We know why, but we know.
And next up, we have 1960. The music library opens, and that's music to my ears, because the music library, since the creation of the school, music was never thought as like a collectible item for some reason in its own space. So Swope Hall was built, and alongside Swope Hall, a music library was built. Mrs. Reed becomes the first supervisor of the music library. I don't know Mrs. Reed's first name, but that's fitting name, right? Reed, right? And in 1967, Ruth Widener was hired as the first music librarian. So we do have a photo of Mrs. Ruth Widener. She's there. And if anyone else can identify any other staff member there, that'd be...
Walt, do you know who this
Yeah, I'm looking for old Frank. I think that's Frank.
But I think I know who you're talking about. Let's see.
Yep, that one.
That
Right there.
one.
is? Frank Helms?
Frank Helms.
Yep.
Does it look like Frank Helms?
Oh my god.
Yep.
See? This is why we're having this day.
Yeah.
Right there.
Wow.
All right. Okay. This is
Guy who hired me.
that's nice. Yeah. All right. Now we introduce a building that we're all familiar with, or maybe not, because the first one was built in 1947. So originally the building was a 2-floor building, right? At that time, the library contained 43,000 books, 9,000 pictures, 6,000 pamphlets, and 275 newspapers and periodicals. The decision to build the library, again, came from the collection expanding, and I believe during this time, around this area, the school was provided more funding as well. So, great thing it went to the library. And that photo is the dedication to Francis Harvey Green, the event itself. Yeah, and it was just the 2 floors. So, like, this side where Starbucks is, and that side was...
there in the beginning, Starbucks?
Oh, I wish. And then in 1966, they added a few things. We'll get into that later. But in 1966, they built the actual building that we're not standing in, but the building that is named after Francis Harvey Green. So it's pretty interesting. At this time, there were 3 librarians on staff. Only 3. Helen A. Russell, Faye Collicott, and Geraldine Conbeer. This building right here costs $876,000 to build. And that equates to $8.7 million today. So, sounds like a lot, but back then, it was not much back then. Yeah, and then when it opened in 1966, when the second 2-floor library opened, it opened with a capacity of 150,000 volumes and boasted a 15,000 square foot reading room, study lounges, audio-visual facilities, and the room you're sitting in, the special collections room. So that's fun, right? This right here is a letter of the dedication. So we have a few things said in this, like I'm not sure who's announcing this letter to Francis Harvey Green, but whoever it is mentions, Dr. Francis Harvey Green, will you please come forward? Dr. Green. I'm just imagining how he's saying, Dr. Green, native born of Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Right? And he goes on this, he's celebrating Harvey Green's career. He's mentioning how he was the headmaster of Pennington School for Boys from 1920. And he says, for more than 20 years, and now I'm president emeritus of Pennington. He just celebrates Harvey Green, which I'm sure felt good. Harvey Green probably loved that, or not. I don't know. And
Well, maybe not.
maybe not,
Now that I look at it.
because look at this.
We fixed it up since
Okay. I want a few people to guess what year this photo is from. Like, if I could get a few, volunteers to just throw out some years.
1970.
1970. Huh. Okay. 73.
68.
68. Wow.
I'm gonna guess like because that photo looks so high res.
Yeah.
I may be very off, but I'm just gonna guess sometime in like the 2000s or something.
Oh, wow. See, Bobby, here's the thing, right? I would say that was the 2000s too, right? Because this looks like the building that we know today, right? This looks like
Yeah,
FHG.
yeah, but and also to me, the build like the picture looks really high res.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is 1973, right? So this is 1973. At this point, they were starting to. I'll get into it. I don't want to spoil the slides, but something big happens. Something big happened. It was close, very close. So I'll just show this one. I'll just show this one before I get into it. There's an Easter egg in this photo, if you guys could see it.
See scaffolding on some kind of big slide cube.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're walking out with books. Let's get into 1970s and present day. Building for the future, right? Well, before we get into what you saw, we have multiple fire instances on campus. So in April 1971, there were 2 arsonists that started 3 fires at Anderson Hall and Recitation Hall. There were also multiple bomb threats, and this was in 1 week. So that happens, and then I believe the next week, 2 fires are started at the library. One started in the basement, and one on the first floor at the bibliography room. Excuse me. And those that you see right there are some pretty important books. They're rare books from back then, and they were destroyed in that fire. Those books valued to about $8,000 to $11,000, and that's just a few books that they got. So they got those. Here's more photos of what happened. It's the basement area over here. I believe that's the basement as well. Yeah. It's rough, but yeah, I should have put up a warning. I'm sorry. Close your eyes if you need to. Yeah, you can leave if you need to. Type of warning. But yeah, that's rough, guys. So in turn, I guess we need more floors because Walt was right. In 1974, the library collection grew. So when the library first was built, it was about 46,000 volumes of collection. The collection was about 46,000 volumes. By fall of 1974, that grew to 300,000. That included 2,800 journals as well and 300,000 volumes of microfilm. So this resulted in the building obviously being overcrowded for 2 floors. And plans were developed to build 6 floors that would open in 1976. And what you're sitting in today was built in 1976. So I believe the library was still accessible during this time too. That's where the scaffolding comes into play. So I wonder how that process was back then. And after the presentation, there's blueprints around the corner that you can look at and see like the vision behind what we know as FHG today. In 1977, they also went through a library reorganization, which essentially was designating various librarians as subject coordinators, which involved a more active relationship with faculty within the subject area and a greater teaching role. So librarians become, more teacher rather than just managing books and hanging out near a bunch of books. So here's a photo of an artist drawing of the sixth floor addition. Around the corner again, there's a blueprint that I really like that's got like a look over. At this part, there's a look over almost, and there's like a bridge to the second floor. It's not shown in this photo, but there's definitely something over there showing that. I'm just wondering why it didn't happen. I'm just wondering why, because it had big windows, look over. It was really cool. And then we got what we know today. So, yeah. There's more photos of the scaffolding. This worker with his shirt off. I don't know how safe that is, but. Well, there's the warning. But yeah. All right. This next slide is a pretty interesting slide. I want to see what everyone's reaction is to this slide, especially Walt's. Walt's pretty excited over here. 1977.
That's the research area on the right.
That's reserve on the right. Oh, the research area. Oh, that's the research.
That was all
yeah.
torn down?
Yeah.
So
Tyrone's on the other side.
What?
Tyrone's on the other side.
Oh yeah, Tyrone's sitting on the other side. Well, it depends what hour it is.
Right. I guess that's Dr. Bones.
It could be, yeah. Still with the bones.
nice.
Well, this was the kind of the time that Tyrone was an undergraduate.
Oh, okay.
So that photo, and then we have this right here. The seating over here kind of looks the same to me. It looks pretty much the same, but I like the photo over to the left. I was really impressed by. I was like, why don't we have those today? I mean,
You can see the card catalog on the very left edge of the photo.
oh yeah, yep, that is true. Card catalog on the left, very left. Let's see if I can bring that up. Right over here. Yep. And then that's the library in 1977. It doesn't look much different, but all right. Next up, we have the Friends of the Library. 1981, the Friends of the Library was organized. The Friends of the Library is essentially community members that subscribe to. Is it subscribe to donate to the library? And they would hold events and things of that nature, and they would just donate out of, niceness, I guess you could say. They help book sales. They believed in the mission, yeah. And here's
Still book sales when I first got here.
really. So on the left, I believe that is like a form of someone that's donating. What we call it a gift, like a gift of deed.
Well, that would be
But-
if they're donating items, but so this would be them joining the Friends of the Library.
Okay.
They're making a donation and joining Friends.
Okay. And then on the right, it's a pretty interesting event that they had. Toe tapping celebration of Christmas. And I see a George Washington cosplay, pretty much.
Is that how the librarians were dressing? Oh, wow, okay.
I don't really have much to say about that. I don't know what to say. Then there you go. This my favorite part. 1982 Special Collections is dedicated as the William Darlington Special Collections Room. The library, along with the Chester County Historical Society, co-sponsored a William Darlington bicentennial observance in April of 1982, And during this event, the Special Collections Room was dedicated as the William Darlington Special Collections Room. Around the corner, there's that exact pamphlet, the actual one. Over there, so you could see what that brochure or pamphlet looked like. The plaque is also over there, which is pretty cool because in the next photo, Taylor actually pointed something out. The plaque that is around the corner is actually right in this photo, right there. And it just says William Darlington. His name's really big. Oh, you didn't see that? That's Shakespeare. Yeah, he's around somewhere. I don't know. You'll see him around the corner probably too. Yeah, and the special collections for you. Next up.
Before these shelves were put in, which wasn't that long ago, right? Right.
Okay, next. I have something to hand out. There's my other gift for everyone. This one's pretty interesting because we can all learn about this one together. It's a good friend of mine as well. All right, if you opened it already, you might have seen something. You were like, oh, I don't know what this means. Or maybe you were like, oh, I remember this. Or maybe you were like, I don't know. We have Chester. In the mid-1980s, the catalog goes online. Chester actually wasn't the first online cataloging system. It was actually OCLC, which, sorry, warning. I forgot the warning for that. Again, I heard that's a very bad word to say. But in the mid-1980s, Chester comes alive, and I really like that. That's very creative, Chester.
Now, was Chester did Chester the cat represent all of Chester County?
No, Chester would just be for us.
Was the Ram not the school mascot yet?
He was. Ramy was still there. But Chester, I don't know where the cat idea comes from. I'm not sure. Catalog. That's very creative. I don't know why we don't have that now. Catalog. That's nice. But yeah, Chester, the pins should be around the corner as well. But that's a pin that people wore. Doesn't bite. That's pretty good. I like that. And then we have a pretty big jump here, so be prepared.
Is this a new computer system we should get used to?
Yeah.
When we open this up, these key commands and stuff.
Yeah. What are we thinking?
Yeah, it's quite a learning curve there. But he's very friendly.
He is very presentable.
Inviting you in.
Exactly. Smiling too.
That's right.
Now we don't have anyone to smile at us when we're cataloging things, you know. But yeah, that's Chester. Maybe someone can learn something and we can make a change and bring Chester back. That'd be cool. But next up, we have a pretty big jump, and it's a really big jump. So just be prepared. New era for Swope Hall. In 2007, new Swope Hall building was opened. So if you weren't aware, the one that was built in 1960 was not the one that exists today. In 1960, it was smaller. Now Swope Hall is really big, and it happens to include Presser Library. So shout out to the Presser Library folks. We have a virtual tour photo over there. if you've never been to Presser, by the way, I recommend you go because I've been there and it's a really welcoming environment. But Presser's fairly new, so there's not much history on it. But hopefully we can, as a group, start saving some things from Presser, and then we can come back in 10 years and say, I got this from Presser back in the day, and
Presser has its own T-shirts.
see, I didn't know that. But that's it for me. That's the end of my presentation.
One question, was Old Main Hall on site of the current Main Hall?
The old Main Hall, is it on the same site?
Yes.
It is, but those arches there was like the entranceway of the old Main Hall. So they actually,
It occupied
yeah,
most of this
yeah.
area here.
There's a photo that I've seen where the entrance of the 6th floor addition here.
Because I looked it up on my phone, and Old Main Hall looks way bigger than the
Yeah.
current Main Hall.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a photo of like the 6th floor addition, the entranceway, and in the photo, Old Main Hall is pretty much blocking the door of that entranceway. So
The entranceway to what?
to like the 6th floor, like this, the front door is here. So like that's how big Old Main Hall was in comparison. Like now we have this. Yeah. It was like very close.
Yeah, like Old Main Hall would literally be facing right next
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. Old Main would pretty much be blocking our view. So.
That's why we had to tear it down.
Yeah.
It's made of serpentinite.
Yeah. Yeah. The quad is the only good. This is the only view we get from here. So like, imagine old Main being there now. It'd be horrible. It'd be like isolation from the world.
And not to mention, Old Main Hall probably would have had a lot of, this is just me being sarcastic, a lot of good old asbestos.
Fair. But asbestos. But that's it for my presentation. Thank you. I can answer any questions that anyone has regarding the stuff. And
So was the original library built with a grant or something?
the original library was built with. It was a part of the board of trustees funds. So it wasn't necessarily a grant. It was more so money that the school had.
And it was built to make accessing books easier.
It was built to the collection grew, and you have to put the book somewhere. So
The collection grew on campus.
yeah.
Yeah, and also too, I have to imagine back then, it was kind of a different world because literacy rates weren't as high.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It was back then. It was more so. They had the money and books, the books, just more books. So why not build a space for that? I guess was the idea more so than literacy. Yeah.
If you can't answer this, I'm sure someone else will
Yeah.
answer this, but I've always wondered what the symbolism is for the tree in the old Westchester University library logo. Anyone want to explain that to me?
It probably represents the Barker vote.
What's it?
Probably represents the Barker vote.
I mean,
Because a lot of our old, Barclays have that tree in it.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, but
we assembled a whole bunch of the logos at one point. And I don't remember what period that was, but it's the university logo. And the library might have, borrowed from it, but yeah, there were a couple versions of that, I think, iterations of that. But yeah, it could be.
some special tree.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a very special tree. It's the largest tree out here,
Oh.
next to Fulton Hall.
Yeah.
Do we get, are we allowed to keep these?
Yeah.
You'll need that pamphlet.
Yeah.
to
You
operate.
will need that. Absolutely.
Directions.
Did everyone get a song? Because we are singing the second half of the song. So. Okay.
Well, now we know the
Jill did
tune.
not get it, but I knew it by heart.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
It's sad in the second half. I don't know.
All right, here we go. We'll end the presentation on the song, you know, in good spirits of the library. I'll start it off in the second half. And it goes a little something like this. Glue pots and bending press, now fare ye well. Books at whose names we go. Now fare ye well. Guardians who help distress, now fare ye well. We shall come no more as in days of yore. Farewell, farewell. Art museums too, now fare ye well. Lost in our ardent view, now fare ye well. Yet shall we ere he true, farewell. Now our reign is o'er, we more. Farewell.
So is that for graduating seniors or retiring librarians? or
Would you
what?
like this?
I have plenty,
In 3 years.
plenty.
Okay, I'll
It's
keep
a
this.
dance. Do you want to learn the steps?
Oh, okay, I better keep it.
Just like that.
Practice in the mirror. Bring it back. But yeah, that's my presentation for today. I would like to thank Ron, Taylor, Avery, Rebecca, all my coworkers here at Special Collections, all my coworkers in the library, all you guys for coming. Thanks for coming. It's great seeing smiling faces, and it's like a nerve-wracking topic because, you know, when you're doing the research, it's like surface level, right? It's surface. You can only get as deep as you can get without going crazy and procrastinating on like, you know, I need more. But there's always more history to find. So that's our jobs as, you know, people who love history or people that live life. I feel like, you know, to find the history, you know, and to be interested in it. So I'm just doing my part, and hopefully you do yours. So that's all. That's all.